When desire finds you in the middle of duty, how do you balance the two? In this story, a maid falls helplessly for her boss, a man whose world is ruled by power, secrets, and control. What begins as loyalty soon turns into temptation, and when feelings cross the line, someone's heart won't make it out unscarred. Like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. The story begins now. The mansion looked like something pulled out of a dream. Tall gates, glass walls, and lights that glowed against the night like quiet fire. Maya stood at the entrance with her small box of belongings, her heart racing in her chest. The driver who brought her had already gone. For a moment she thought of turning back. But she couldn't. She needed this job. The security guard checked her ID, gave her a once-over, and buzzed her in. "Welcome to Blake Manor," he said, though his tone was flat, practiced. Inside, the air smelled of money, not the loud, flashy kind, but quiet wealth. Everything was polished, symmetrical, too perfect to touch. Maya had worked in houses before, politicians, influencers, one actor who yelled at staff like they were ghosts, but nothing like this. Her shoes made soft sounds on the marble floor as the head housekeeper, Mrs. Lorna, led her upstairs. "No noise after 9, Mrs. Lorna said without looking at her. "You'll clean the study, guest lounge, and upstairs hallway. Mr. Blake hates clutter. Keep everything minimal. And never enter his office unless told." Maya nodded. "Yes, ma'am." They stopped outside a door at the end of the hallway. "This is your room. Small but decent. Breakfast is at 6 sharp." When the door closed behind her, Maya dropped her box and sat on the bed. She took a deep breath. From her window she could see the city lights of Lagos glittering in the distance, tiny sparks that looked alive. She smiled faintly. Maybe this was the start of something better. The next morning started before dawn. The mansion was quiet except for the soft hum of air conditioning and the distant sound of waves. The house stood close to the water, tucked away in Banana Island's most private corner. Maya tied her hair back and began cleaning. She liked order, liked seeing chaos turn into calm. She worked fast but careful, humming under her breath as she dusted shelves lined with books, Forbes, Harvard Business Review, stacks of financial journals she didn't dare touch. It wasn't until she turned to wipe the glass table that she noticed the photo frame. A man, sharp jawline, dark hair, piercing eyes, standing beside a woman in a champagne dress. The man was Leonardo Blake, CEO of Blake Holdings. Billionaire. One of those names people whispered about like a rumor, young, powerful, never smiles. The woman beside him was his fiancée, Vanessa Cole. Fashion influencer, model, Lagos socialite. Perfect teeth, perfect pose. Maya sighed quietly and turned the frame face down to clean under it, then set it back exactly how it was. She was adjusting the curtains when a voice came from behind her, deep, smooth, and quiet. "Who turned that frame?" Maya froze. The voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight. She turned slowly. Leonardo Blake stood in the doorway, tall in a tailored suit, the morning light spilling across his face. I was just cleaning, sir," Maya stammered, her heart jumping. "I moved it to wipe the dust." He glanced at the table, then at her, his expression unreadable. "Next time, don't move my things." "Yes, sir," she whispered. He was already walking past her, setting his phone on the table. The scent of his cologne, something dark, subtle, followed him. Maya backed away quietly, her hands trembling a little. Leo sat down, typing quickly, barely noticing her anymore. She stood there for half a second, then turned to leave. But as she did, he said quietly without looking up, "You're new." "Yes, sir." "What's your name?" "Maya." He nodded slightly, his eyes still fixed on his laptop screen. "All right, Maya. Carry on." By evening she'd finished her chores. The mansion came alive around sunset, sleek cars pulling up the driveway, soft jazz echoing from hidden speakers, staff moving like shadows. Maya carried a tray of drinks into the lounge. Leo was hosting a meeting with a few executives. They all looked sharp, expensive, the kind of men who spoke in low tones and didn't laugh often. Maya served each glass, quiet, graceful, invisible. Until one of them, a man with slicked hair and too much cologne, smirked. "Didn't know you had new staff, Leo," he said. "Pretty one too." Leo didn't even look up. "You're here to discuss numbers, Victor, not my staff." The man chuckled, raising his hands. "Touchy." Maya turned to leave, her face burning, but Leo's voice stopped her. "Maya." She froze. "Yes, sir?" "Bring another bottle from the cellar. The imported one." She nodded, grateful for an excuse to escape. When she came back, the room had shifted. The laughter was quieter, the air heavier. She poured the drinks carefully and left, her heartbeat still fast from how easily his voice commanded the room. Hours later, when everyone had left, Maya was cleaning the lounge. She found Leo still there, alone, sitting by the window, tie loosened, staring out into the night. She hesitated, unsure if she should disturb him. He looked different. Not the cold, sharp man she'd seen before, but someone tired. Human. He spoke without turning. "Do you like working here?" Maya blinked. "Yes, sir." "Even with all the rules?" She smiled faintly. "Rules make people predictable, sir. That's easier than chaos." That made him turn. For the first time, he really looked at her. His lips curved, just slightly, the ghost of a smile. "You're smarter than most people here." Maya dropped her gaze, her cheeks warm. "I just try to do my job well, sir." He nodded once, stood up, and picked up his phone. "Get some rest, Maya." "Yes, sir." As he walked past, she caught a trace of his cologne again, warm and distant, like a memory that lingered too long. When the door shut, Maya exhaled, her heart fluttering in her chest. She sat for a moment in the empty room, the city lights flickering beyond the glass walls. Somewhere deep down she knew this job was already changing something in her. Not just her life. Her heart. And though she didn't know it yet, Leonardo Blake had noticed her far more than he was willing to admit. By the end of her first week, Maya had learned that Leonardo Blake was a man who ruled in silence. He didn't shout. He didn't repeat himself. He didn't forgive mistakes twice. And yet there was something about him that made her heartbeat trip every time he walked into a room. It wasn't just that he was handsome, though he was, in that quiet, dangerous kind of way. It was how everything around him seemed to shift, like even the air waited for his permission to move. The mansion followed his rhythm. His schedule, his moods, his late-night calls. Maya cleaned, listened, learned. She'd catch flashes of him, walking through the corridor in shirt sleeves, glass of whiskey in hand, standing by the window as rain poured outside, his face lit by city lights, sitting alone at the grand piano some nights, playing something low and haunting, like a secret he didn't want to keep anymore. She shouldn't have been watching him. But she did. And what she didn't know was that sometimes, when she left the room, he watched her too. One afternoon the mansion buzzed more than usual. Mrs. Lorna barked orders, fresh flowers arrived, and the chef was nearly losing his mind over timing. Maya had just finished polishing the staircase when she heard the guards announce someone at the door. "Miss Vanessa Cole," one said. Maya froze. The fiancée. She appeared like a perfume ad, tall, flawless, camera-ready. Sunglasses covered half her face, but her lips were glossy and sharp. "Where's Leo?" she asked without looking at anyone. "In his office, ma'am." "Of course he is." She brushed past the staff like they were invisible, her heels clicking across the marble. Maya tried to focus on her work, but the raised voices carried down the hall not long after. "You can't keep avoiding me, Leo." Vanessa's voice was sharp, brittle. "I'm not avoiding you." Leo's reply was calm, low. "I'm managing a company, Vanessa." "Oh, please. You've been distant for weeks. You barely come to events. The press is starting to ask questions." "Then tell them whatever you want." The pause. Then Vanessa's tone softened, sugar over steel. "Is it another woman?" Maya froze mid-step. Leo didn't answer right away. Then, a quiet, tired sigh. "Not everything's about drama, Vanessa." Maya forced herself to move, gripping the railings so tight her knuckles hurt. When Vanessa finally stormed out, she caught Maya's reflection near the stairs. Her gaze swept up and down in one sharp motion. "New maid." "Yes, ma'am," Maya murmured. Vanessa smiled, The kind that didn't reach her eyes. Careful, sweetheart. My fiancé doesn't like distractions. She walked off, her perfume lingering in the air long after she was gone. That evening, as the mansion calmed again, Maya stayed late cleaning the office. She didn't realize Leo had returned until she heard the faint click of the door behind her. "You don't have to stay this late," he said. She straightened quickly. "I was almost done, sir." He walked to the desk, setting down his phone. He looked tired again. Jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled up, tie hanging loose. His eyes lingered on the file she just organized. "You're efficient," he said simply. "Thank you, sir." He looked at her for a moment, really looked. "You heard her earlier, didn't you?" Maya's breath caught. "I didn't mean to, sir. I was just cleaning the hall." "It's fine." His tone wasn't angry. If anything, it was weary. "Vanessa and I haven't been on the same page for a long time. Publicly, we're perfect. Privately," he let out a humorless laugh. "You wouldn't believe half of it." Maya hesitated. "I don't judge, sir." He studied her face, his expression unreadable, something flickering behind his eyes, curiosity, maybe admiration. "You really don't, do you?" She shook her head. "Everyone's fighting something. Some people just do it with better clothes." That made him smile. "The real kind, small but real. Maybe that's why you seem different." "Different?" she asked softly. He stepped closer, his voice lower now. "You see things most people don't." For a second, neither of them moved. The space between them hummed, heavy, electric, alive. Maya's heart was racing so loud she was sure he could hear it. Then his phone buzzed, slicing the moment. He turned away instantly, his voice hard again. "Yes." He paused, listening, his jaw tightening. "Tell them to send the file by midnight." The warmth that had filled the room vanished as he ended the call. "You should go, Maya. It's late." She nodded quickly. "Good night, sir." "Good night." As she left, Leo watched the door close behind her, exhaling slowly. He didn't understand it, how someone so quiet had started to haunt his thoughts. He told himself it was nothing, just a distraction. But later that night, when he walked past her small room and saw the faint light under the door, he stopped, listening to the soft sound of her humming, the same tune she always sang when cleaning. For the first time in years, Leonardo Blake smiled, alone in the dark. The next morning, Maya found an envelope on her nightstand. Inside was a small note in neat handwriting, "Thank you for your work, LB." And tucked with it, an embossed access card. It gave her permission to enter the upper floors. Only Leo's most trusted staff had that. Maya stared at it for a long time, her pulse quickening. She didn't know if this was a blessing or a warning. But one thing was certain, she was no longer invisible in that mansion. And that meant the story between them was only beginning. The following week blurred into long nights and quiet mornings. Maya barely had time to breathe. The upper floors were a different world. Sleeker, colder, filled with art pieces that probably cost more than her entire life savings. But what struck her most was how empty it felt. Even with all the money, all the glass walls and marble, there was no warmth here. Just echoes. Leo spent most of his days locked in the home office or traveling to the company's headquarters in Victoria Island. But when he was home, Maya could feel it, the shift in energy, like the whole mansion knew he was near. He was polite, distant at first, but every day something changed. Their conversations grew longer. He'd ask her random things, if she liked the city, how long she'd worked as a maid, what she wanted for herself. Questions no boss ever asked. And the way he looked at her sometimes, that unreadable, controlled stare, it made her chest tighten. One evening she was dusting the office when he called her name. "Maya." She turned. He was standing by the window, his tie loose, one hand in his pocket. "Come here." She hesitated, then stepped closer. He gestured at the skyline outside. Lagos glowed, skyscrapers flickering, horns echoing from the streets below. "Do you ever wonder what it feels like to own all of this?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "I think it feels lonely." He looked at her, surprised. "Lonely?" She nodded. "Everyone wants your money, not your peace." "I see it all the time." Leo chuckled under his breath. You're smarter than most people I know. I'm observant, sir. Call me Leo, he said quietly. Her pulse jumped. I can't do that, sir. You just did. His voice softened, and for a heartbeat, the world outside seemed to disappear. Then, the door burst open. Vanessa. Her eyes darted between them, sharp and suspicious. I knew it, she hissed. I knew something was off. Vanessa. Don't you dare, she snapped. You're standing here in the dark, talking to your maid like she's your... Enough. Leo's voice cracked like thunder. You're out of line. Vanessa laughed bitterly. Out of line? Oh, Leo, you crossed that line a long time ago. She turned to Maya, eyes blazing. You think sleeping your way up will make you one of us? You're a maid. A nobody. Maya's hands trembled, but she didn't speak. She didn't need to. Leo's voice dropped low. Apologize. Vanessa blinked. Excuse me? Apologize to her. She stared at him like he'd lost his mind. Leo, she staff. Apologize, he repeated, deadly calm. For a moment no one breathed. Then Vanessa scoffed, snatched her purse, and stormed out, the door slamming behind her. The silence that followed was thick, charged. Maya turned slowly. You shouldn't have done that. I don't tolerate disrespect, he said simply. Now she'll come for me. Let her. She met his gaze. His tone was protective, fierce, something she hadn't expected from a man like him. It scared her, and thrilled her all at once. Leo, she said quietly, people talk? Let them talk. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. You've done nothing wrong. Her throat tightened. Then why does it feel like I have? He exhaled slowly, his hand almost reaching for her. But he stopped himself, turning away. Go rest, Maya. She lingered a moment longer, then left without a word. The next morning whispers rippled through the mansion. The staff had noticed Vanessa's fury, her abrupt departure, the tension that now hung over everything. And at breakfast, as Maya served coffee, Leo's phone buzzed nonstop. News notifications. Corporate alerts. His company, Blake Industries, was under review for insider trading leaks, a rumor that could destroy the empire overnight. Leo's jaw clenched. He didn't speak, but Maya saw it in his eyes. Someone was coming for him. Later that night, when everyone else had gone to bed, she found him in the office again, his tie undone, his laptop glowing. He didn't look up when she entered. Couldn't sleep? He asked. Neither could you, she said softly. He gave a tired smile. The board thinks someone inside leaked confidential files. Millions on the line. She hesitated. Do you think it's her? He paused. Vanessa? She nodded. His expression hardened. It wouldn't surprise me. Then he looked at her and his voice shifted, lower, raw. You shouldn't get caught in this, Maya. My world isn't kind. I'm already in it, she whispered. Something broke between them then, the wall, the restraint, the distance. He took one step closer, then another. The hum of the city outside faded, leaving only their breathing, their silence, their wanting. His hand brushed hers, tentative, dangerous. Maya, he murmured. She looked up, her voice trembling. If we do this, there's no going back. He smiled faintly, the kind that carried both warning and promise. Maybe I don't want to. And in that moment, everything changed. The morning after their almost kiss, Maya woke with a knot in her chest. The mansion felt colder, heavier, like something bad had already happened. And it had. By noon the news broke. Blake Industries rocked by internal leak, full linked to domestic staff. Mystery woman reportedly involved with billionaire Leo Blake. Maya's heart sank as she read the headline. Her name wasn't mentioned, but the details were too precise to be coincidence. The article painted her as a young female employee under Blake's personal supervision, the same woman the tabloids were now calling the maid mistress. She knew instantly, Vanessa. The whispers spread like wildfire. Staff avoided her eyes. Security watched her closely. Even the gate guards, who once smiled when she passed, now stood stiff and silent. Maya felt it, the shift, the danger. That night Leo stormed into the mansion, phone pressed to his ear, his voice like thunder. I don't care what PR says, I want it gone by morning. He hung up, running a hand through his hair. His tie was gone, his shirt half unbuttoned, and for the first time he looked like a man who had lost control. Maya stood in the corner, quiet. It was her, wasn't it? Leo looked up, his eyes dark. Vanessa's playing dirty. She leaked fabricated board emails, and she's using the rumor about us to make it look like I'm compromised. Then fire back, Maya said softly. You have proof. He stared at her, almost smiling. You really think I'd survive this storm with logic? I think you've survived worse, she replied. That made him pause. You don't know what I've survived, Maya. Then tell me. But he didn't. Instead he walked to the window, staring out at the city lights reflecting on the glass. Lights that once meant power, now taunting him. He turned back to her. They want to see me fall. I won't give them that satisfaction. His eyes softened. But you shouldn't be in the middle of this. I can protect you if you leave. Just for a while. Maya shook her head. You don't get to send me away like I'm some mistake you need to clean up. It's not that. Yes, it is. Her voice trembled. You said you didn't want to go back. That you didn't want to be alone. But now that it's hard, you'd rather face it alone than risk caring. He froze. For a long time neither spoke. The sound of rain against the window filled the silence between them. Heavy, electric, alive. Then his voice dropped, almost a whisper. If I lose everything tomorrow, Maya, would you still be here? She met his gaze, steady and sure. You already have me, Leo. The rest is just noise. Something shifted in his eyes, something unguarded. He stepped forward, slowly, like the air itself could shatter. His hand reached up, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. No words. No hesitation. Just the pull between two people who had run out of reasons to resist. When his lips met hers, it wasn't gentle, it was desperate, like he'd been holding his breath for years. The room around them disappeared, the mansion, the scandal, the world. Just two broken souls clinging to the one thing that still made sense. Hours later the mansion was quiet again. Leo sat on the edge of the bed, staring at his phone. Dozens of missed calls. Dozens of messages. The board wanted answers. His legal team wanted a statement. Maya stirred beside him, the sheet brushing her shoulder. You should rest. He turned, looking at her with something close to regret. I can't. Vanessa's not done. She's got more. What kind of more? Emails. Accounts. The kind of proof that can destroy everything I built. She sat up. Then we find her weakness before she uses yours. Leo blinked. You sound like me. Maybe I've been paying attention. For the first time that night he smiled. A real one. You really are dangerous. Only when cornered, she said softly. He laughed under his breath, but the sound faded quickly. The storm wasn't over. And they both knew it. By morning Vanessa's war had gone public. A press conference. Fake evidence. Leaked texts. She painted herself as the betrayed lover, claiming Leo had manipulated her, used her, and replaced her with a housemaid. The internet devoured it. #CancelLeo trended before noon. Stocks dropped. Sponsors pulled out. Blake Industries was collapsing. Inside the mansion Maya watched him from the hallway, pacing, phone in hand, fire in his eyes. When he finally looked up, his voice was raw. She's got a recording, edited, twisted. If she releases it, it's over. Then let her release it, Maya said. And when she does, you fight back with truth. He shook his head. In this world, truth doesn't sell. Maya took a step closer. Then let me help you make it. How? She hesitated, then said it. If she wants to destroy you with a lie, we'll destroy her with what she really is. Leo frowned. You're talking like this is a game. It is, she said. You just forgot how to play. And in that moment Leo realized, she wasn't just the maid who cleaned his floors or served his meals. She was the woman who saw him clearly, even when the rest of the world turned away. He took her hand. Then let's end this. By dawn Lagos was awake and loud, horns blaring, phones buzzing, screens flashing, the fall of a billionaire. But inside the Blake mansion everything was still. Too still. Maya sat at the kitchen counter, scrolling through the chaos online. The world was eating Leo alive, dissecting his past, twisting his words, questioning his every move. Vanessa had turned the city against him overnight. And yet he hadn't said a word. When he finally walked in, Leo looked like a man who hadn't slept in days. His shirt was wrinkled, his jaw shadowed, his eyes red but sharp. The quiet around him wasn't weakness, it was focus. "She wants war," he said, voice low. "Then we'll give her one." Maya stood, her heart pounding. "You found something?" He nodded. "Remember the internal audit she stopped me from approving? The one she called a waste of company time?" Maya's brow furrowed. "Yeah." Leo dropped a flash drive on the counter. "Turns out, Vanessa's been moving company funds into offshore accounts under shell names. I had my people trace it. She's stolen millions." Maya's breath caught. "So you can expose her?" Leo gave a grim smile. "No. We can." By noon they were in his office, the skyline glittering beyond the glass like a silent audience. Maya handled the files. Everything digital, clean, impossible to trace back. Leo drafted the statement himself, fingers steady on the keyboard. "This isn't about revenge," she said quietly. He looked at her. "Then what is it about?" "Taking back your name," she whispered. "Your truth." For a second he just stared at her, the woman who'd started as a stranger in his house and had become his anchor. Then he reached across the desk and took her hand. "You shouldn't have to fight my battles, Maya." She smiled faintly. "Then stop giving me reasons to." They sent the files. To the board. To the press. To the authorities. Every receipt, every transaction, every lie Vanessa built her empire on. And then they waited. By sunset it happened. Breaking news. A headline that flipped the city upside down. Vanessa Cole under investigation for fraud and embezzlement. Leaked documents trace millions to offshore accounts. The world that had turned on Leo turned again, fast and vicious. Cameras swarmed Vanessa's estate. Her PR team resigned live on air. Her investors cut ties before dinner. And just like that, the queen of gossip fell to silence. Maya watched it all unfold on the living room TV, the same way she'd once watched the man she loved crumble. But this time justice didn't taste sweet. It was heavy. Costly. When Leo walked in she didn't smile. "It's over," he said quietly. She nodded. "Yeah. But you lost everything to win." He stepped closer. "Not everything." She looked up, tears in her eyes. "You can't mean that." "I do." He reached for her hand, his voice raw. "You were the only real thing in all this mess. The one person who didn't want anything from me. And I ruined your peace." Maya shook her head. "You didn't ruin it. You changed it." For a moment the mansion went still again. Two people standing in the middle of everything that had burned, realizing they'd survived. Weeks passed. The scandal died down. Vanessa disappeared from the city. Some said she fled the country, others claimed she'd been arrested quietly. Blake Industries began rebuilding, slower, cleaner, stronger. And Maya? She still worked at the mansion. Not as a maid anymore, but as his assistant, his partner. Every morning she'd walk through the doors of his new office, the skyline blazing behind him, and he'd look up with that same faint smile, the one that meant "I see you." One evening, as the sun dipped low, Leo leaned back in his chair and said softly, "You know, when you first came to my house, I thought you were just quiet. Invisible." Maya arched a brow. "And now? Now I know you were fire waiting for oxygen." She laughed. "And you were the billionaire dumb enough to stand too close." He grinned. "Best mistake I ever made." She shook her head, smiling, then turned to look out the window, Lagos glowing below them, alive and endless. They had scars. Both of them. But maybe that was the point. Love, like survival, wasn't about avoiding the storm. It was about learning how to stand in the rain and still breathe. And together, that's exactly what they did. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, and stay tuned for our next story. Bye.